In all of my lifetime, I've yet to personally meet or see a designer baby. It is my hope that they do not become a normal occurrence in our society. A dozen countries, not including the United States, have banned germline engineering, and scientific societies have unanimously concluded that it would be too risky to do. The era of genetically modified babies has just begun, but there are many long-term effects these babies could have on humanity. The gene modification can be used for few good reasons, such as preventing a birth defect or a fatal disease that the baby could possibly be born with. The real problem is within the future of humankind. After reading many articles and journals over the pros and cons of the gene modification ability, I have come to the conclusion that the cons definitely outweigh the good. I believe there are three main points everyone should be aware of. 1. Parents could use the abilities for superficial purposes. 2. The effects modified babies could have on the gene pool. And 3rd, the gap in the society they could create. I will now talk to you about why the gene modification procedure was brought forth, but what the actual reasons are for the use of some parents. The beginning of genetically modified babies was first thought about in the 90s. Scientists' intentions for this procedure, according to the People, Ideas, and Things journal, was to prevent genetic diseases such as Down syndrome, Alzheimer's, and Huntington's disease. Later down the road, the discussion of other trait genes was brought to the playing field. From Frontline Genomics, Adam Nash was the world's first designer baby. Created in a test tube, his purpose was to have matching skin tissues to his older sister to save her from a rare blood disease. Although this particular case was life-saving, Adam is in a different category of designer babies. Today, a designer baby is thought of as a baby with artificial genes altered. A parent, when altering their embryos, are able to change stuff about their children that could affect their appearance or future. Some of these genes could be eye, hair color, height, intelligence, and even personality. Now that we have discussed the two types of designer babies, that leads us to our second point, the alteration of the gene pool. Creating multiple babies with the same perfect genes, such as height, blue eyes, enhanced intelligence, and athletic ability could lead to the gene pool having too similar of genes and prevent diversity in future generations. The European Union's Convention on Human Rights and Biomedicines says tampering with the gene pool would be a crime against human dignity and human rights. Not only do modified babies have potential effects on the gene pool, it could create a huge gap in our future society. The process of modifying an embryo to create the designer baby is extremely expensive, so would this option only be available to the wealthy? The modified babies of the future will have a distinct look and personality to them, given that the parents choose popular or perfect genes for the child. This has raised questions about the social classes dividing. It will be available to the rich but banned from the poor. According to Antonio Regalado, the fear is that germline engineering is a path towards super people and designer babies for those who can afford it. He also states that an in vitro fertility procedure costs about $20,000 in the United States. Adding genetic testing and egg donations or surrogate mother, and the price soars towards $100,000. So the pricing can get out of hands for most citizens. After showing you all of my research, I hope to have given you a deeper insight of the problem genetically modified babies could have on our future. The era of genetically modified babies has just begun, but there are many long-term effects these babies can have on humanity. Today I discussed the three main points everyone should know about the future modified babies could cause. Parents could use the abilities for superficial purposes, the effects modified babies could have on the gene pool, and also the gap in society they will create. Genetically modified babies are still in experimental phases. I hope I brought to everyone's attention the potential dangers in the era could bring. And if society does go ahead and give the altered genes approval, I hope that we can edit what genes are allowed to be tampered with, I would hate to see humans lose individuality.